This is Good Morning San Diego.
The incoming Trump administration could have some impacts on employment law. Joining us now to further discuss is employment attorney Annie Ellis. Annie, good morning. So good to see you.
Good to see you too, always.
Well, this is interesting. I think one of the main takeaways here is that things could be looking better for business, across the country.
Yeah, I mean, California businesses were always a little cautiously optimistic here. And the one that I'm watching the most is the Department of Labor. We've all been, I think, waking up every day and seeing who the new cabinet pick is going to be. And that's one that I've personally been watching, haven't seen yet. I don't think it's going to be that controversial, but let's keep in mind, Biden couldn't even get his second Secretary of Labor confirmed. Julie Su, who used to run California's enforcement agency here, could never get past the Senate. And I think this is kind of a referendum on, we don't want to make the United States like California. So what are we going to see? We're going to see minimum wages either stay the same or not get challenged and go up. So the Biden administration tried to challenge the minimum salary requirement, for example, raising it from $35,000 to $58,000 starting January 1st. Texas court threw it out last week. Trump is going to come in and he's going to say, okay, I like that decision. I'm not going to change that. Hourly minimum wage, $7.25, has been the same since 2009. Obviously not here in California, but we're not going to see an increase in that as well. We're going to see better opportunities for gig workers, independent contractors, all these types of things we've been wanting to see for the last 4 years, but haven't.
And so I guess what a lot of people, especially here, are questioning is how much control will Gavin Newsom and the state of California laws have over what we're seeing? Because we all saw, the minimum wage for fast food workers go up, and we saw how that affected prices at fast food restaurants. So I think people are wondering, okay, even though the Trump administration can come in, it's going to be good for businesses as far as cost requirements, but what about the state and how it differs? Do you see changes there?
Yeah, it's a great question. So in terms of, baseline minimum wage, overtime breaks, all of that, I don't think that's going to change. But what is going to change is enforcement. So the Department of Labor, even though their rules, even under the Biden administration, are still not as bad as California's, they have been really, really tough on enforcement the last 4 years. We're talking not just wages owed, but liquidated damages, which doubles the wages, plus penalties, plus longer look-back periods, 3 years instead of 1 or 2. And so, and a lot of those investigations are ending with publicly entered judgments and then really nasty public press releases going after the employer as if it wasn't bad enough they had to pay $1 million judgment. Now you want to go ahead and hurt their income revenue stream with their client relationships so they can't even pay that off. I think we're going to see a lot of that go down, and we're going to see employers be able to self-audit and self-pay, and I do think that will have a ripple-down effect for businesses here in California.
You mentioned the gig workers, and that was a bit, we saw that law get shot down that was proposed trying to sort of regulate that, but there are a lot of gig workers now, which I think we've seen in a lot of recent surveys about that's a big industry. A lot of people are just doing the gig work. Do you think there's going to be significant changes there?
In California, I'm not an eternal optimist when it comes to legal issues. I like to wait till my chickens hatch and then count them and make sure they're hatching their own chickens before I'm really comfortable. I could hope that AB 5, which is that law that everyone was really threatened about here in California, rightfully so, maybe there's a chance the Supreme Court could issue a ruling that would impact it. Other than that, I think we're just going to see tightening of on the federal front. The rules are going to become better for allowing these types of relationships. But overall, I think, unfortunately, the landscape's going to change here. It's going to stay the same here in California.
All right. Well, Annie Ellis, always great to hear your expertise on this issue, and we'll keep looking for changes.
And when that labor secretary name comes in, that's what I want to see.
Is there someone that you would pick for that job?
Oh, that's a good question. I think right now they were looking at one of the CEOs of the big fast food chains, and I like that. I like the idea of someone that's run a business with a lot of hourly workers in a lot of states. I think they would bring a fair representation to the agency.
All right. I like it. Annie Ellis, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
See you soon.